My name's Alana Byrd. I'm the National Field Director for People for the American Way. And I lead specifically our Truth program, our Truth campaign, which encompasses right now, most importantly, the Grandparents for Truth program. So I'll talk a little bit about what Grandparents for Truth is. So what is Grandparents for Truth? It's a group that was founded just in June of this year, so it's about 6 months old. And it's a group for grandparents and their allies. It's organized by People for the American Way, which I'll talk about in just a second. And what they do is it's fighting for the next generation's freedom to read and learn, as well as resisting attacks from authoritarians. So People for the American Way, by way of a quick background, is an organization that's over 40 years old now. It was started in 1980. By TV producer Norman Lear, who you might have heard of. He, if you hadn't before this week, you probably have now, as he actually just passed away at the age of 101 last week. And he was a TV producer responsible for such TV shows as The Jeffersons and All in the Family, kind of subversive shows that really highlighted racial tension and tension between conservatism and liberalism in America. And what Norman Lear and co-founder Congresswoman Barbara Jordan found in the 1980s and late 1970s really was that there was this rise of religious right-wing figures saying the American way is that a man and a woman gets married and has 2.5 children and they pray to God on their knees every night, and there is no other room for anything else. And, you know, all kinds of sort of worrying and authoritarian language like that, where there was just no room for a diversity of voices in America. And so Norman Lear and Barbara Jordan came together and formed what they decided was their American way. So they created People for the American Way, and they founded it on 3 founding principles, which is truth, justice, and the American way, which may sound familiar to you if you're a Superman fan. But for our purposes, we have truth, justice, and the American way. Justice, we focus on the appointment of fair-minded judge, election and appointment of fair-minded judges in America. And in terms of American way, that's democracy reform, voting rights, things like that. And then truth, which is what I'll talk about, is making sure that we're fighting back against book bans, censorship, and authoritarianism. So we talked about what Grandparents for Truth is. We can talk about who can join, because it sounds like it's just a group of grandparents, but it's not. So of course, the first people that we had in mind when we created this was grandparents, and it was started by grandparents. But we also want to make sure that everyone who cares about these issues is welcome. And so we don't want to be exclusive. And so also grandparents adjacent can join. What's a grandparent adjacent? Someone, for example, who has a son whose partner has a child, right? They're not married, but that person is essentially, for all intents and purposes, a grandparent. A grandkid can join. All of us are, in some way or another, a grandchild, whether our grandparents are living or not, we're grandchildren. And so we have plenty of swag that says Grandkids for Truth. So if you're not yet a grandparent, you're definitely a grandchild for truth. And allies as well. Let's say you're, not quite a grandparent, you might be in that period of time where your kids are getting ready, but you still care, and maybe some people would identify you by looking at you as a grandparent, or you're retired, or you just want to get to that point where you're identifying more with grandparents than you are with parents or kids. Then you would be an ally of grandparents, and you can be part of this group as well. Why was it founded? Well, we're seeing a rise of authoritarian groups. I think everybody knows about, Moms for Liberty, but we're also seeing groups like Parents' Rights in Education, County Citizens Defending Freedom USA. So lots of groups that are coming around, and they are making their voices known. I mean, Moms for Liberty is only a couple years old, and they've really made a huge name for themselves. So we want to fight back against that. We're also seeing a rise in book banning. According to a September 2023 PEN America report, the number of public school book bans across the country increased by 33% over 2021 to 2022 school year. And since PEN America started tracking public school bans, book bans in 2021, the organization has recorded nearly 6,000 instances of banned books. Too high. That's how we feel. So we want to fight back against that too. And then importantly, there was a lack of grandparent specific programming. and community in the country. There are a lot of groups, including Red, Wine, and Blue, and we are strong partners. We love working with Red, Wine, and Blue, that, you know, appeal to groups of people who want to fight back. But we didn't find any that were specifically grandparent oriented. And we had grandparents coming to us and saying, we want a community of people that are like-minded and, you know, are in the same era of life as we are, who can also fight back with us. So why grandparents? Well, I think we know grandparents are a great cohort of individuals who have, you know, a lot to share. They're mentors and guides. They have a stake in the future as well as a unique perspective on history, right? Grandparents can go back and say, this is what happened to me, and I care about what's happening to my grandchildren. I have a stake in their future. Also, when we, you know, say we want to be intersectional, we want to be diverse, well, we're not just talking about, you know, race and religion and, you know, sexual orientation and gender presentation. We're also talking about age. We don't want to be ageist. We want to make sure that we have a diverse landscape. And so that includes age. And finally, as I mentioned, we have Norman Lear was our founding, both our founding principal as People for the American Way, but also our founding grandparent. We saw a need for this as well. So that's why grandparents. And then what do we do? Well, we're a voice as Grandparents for Truth. We're a voice for, you know, anything authoritarian, book banning, censorship. We speak up at school board meetings if there's a need to. We organize in our communities. We create protests or rallies if needed. And we contact our lawmakers if needed. And we create and join a national community. And that includes in-person and online events. What actions have we taken? I'll try to go through this as quickly as possible. So far, we've had two really great actions. One of them was our launch in Philadelphia. So that was a protest outside of the Moms for Liberty National Summit. And that was in late June when we launched. And we had over 200 people there, all telling Moms for Liberty that they were not welcome in Philadelphia. And as Ray mentioned, I'm a native Philadelphian, and I can tell you very, very clearly they were not welcome there. We had a huge turnout. The news all came out and made it very clear that Moms for Liberty wasn't welcome. The second thing we did in August was we flew out to Temecula, California, and met up with our Grandparents for Truth there. And the pictures I put in the presentation, the top left is Diana. She's a disabled trans veteran, and she spoke out in Philadelphia. And then in the next to her is a grandparent from Temecula. And that's an example of our swag, of our shirts that we sell or give away if you come to one of our events. But anyway, in Temecula, there was a recall kickoff. So we helped kick off a recall of 3 right-wing religious school board members who the first thing they did when they came in to the school board when they got elected was to ban the teaching of CRT. And I put that in quotes, critical race theory. I put that in quotes because critical race theory wasn't actually being taught in Temecula. And basically it was a dog whistle saying, we don't want this, you know, we don't want to talk about race at all. Since then, they've made it much easier to ban books. They have now, just like the other day, they created basically an undue burden on any books to pass, and they haven't even created definitions, but basically they said no books can contain pornography, violence, anything, you know, that's beyond the pale, and they haven't created definitions. So basically anything that they want to say is inappropriate, they can now make inappropriate. They have also disallowed the flying of any flags other than the California or US flag, which everyone knew was a thinly veiled ban against the pride flag. So we came out in full force with our grandparents in Temecula. We had, again, over 200 people out there, all fighting back against these school board members. So that was the kickoff in August. The signature gathering period, if you're an elections wonk like me, that just ended a couple days ago. And so it looks very likely that there will be a recall of at least 1 or 2 of the members on that school board. And so we'll get hopefully a Democratic majority in that school board again. So stay tuned if you're interested. Temecula School Board, there's a lot of news and information about it. Another thing that we do are statements and calls to action. I'll just give 2 examples. We did 2 different petitions. One of them was to the College Board when they chose to make some heavy amendments to the AP African American Studies course. And the other was to Scholastic when they chose to segregate books that were written by or about LGBTQ or people of color individuals. And both of those petitions actually, we can't say that they turned the tide specifically, but in both of those cases, both Scholastic and College Board changed course. And I know that there were a lot of groups out there that made petitions and made their voices heard, but we were one of them. And we were proud to say that both of those tides turned. And then the fourth thing that I want to mention is that we're creating local groups right now. So we're creating a model where folks who are interested in starting their own Grandparents for Truth chapters around the country can do so by contacting me. I'll put my information in the chat, and they can basically take as much or as little action as they want. They can bring their friends together and speak out at school board meetings. They can wear their t-shirts and their bumper stickers on their car. They can really take action, create a banned book giveaway or a book drive, like a holiday book drive, all kinds of different actions that they can do. And then ways to get involved. There's some links in the next slide. You can sign up. I'll put that in the chat as well. You can get our swag if you just want to represent. Just people4.shop. Banned Books Week passed this year, but you can join next year. We had a Banned Books reading challenge that was really fun. You can start a local group, as I mentioned. Tell all your friends about it, and everyone you know, every grandparent, even your frenemies, tell them all. And you can keep in contact by the next slide. So my information's there. I'll also put all that information in the chat as well. And I will finally stop talking and sharing my screen and give it back to you, Ray. Thanks.